When something goes wrong with my smartphone, my immediate reaction is it's incredibly mechanical. Like the battery is draining too fast, so I swipe up and close some background apps.
Right.
Or the screen freezes and I force a hard restart. And if it's really acting up and lagging, I just kind of assume, well, the hardware is obsolete, it's time for an upgrade, and I basically just throw money at the problem.
Yeah, the classic consumer response.
Exactly. It's a very clean, binary way of looking at the world. It's either broken or not broken, hardware or software.
Yeah.
But here is the terrifying part about modern life. We have basically copy-pasted that exact sterile mechanical troubleshooting framework onto the human body.
We really have.
And it is absolutely exhausting us. So today, we're completely dismantling that illusion. Welcome to the deep dive.
Right.
Our mission today is to radically shift how you view your own health and existence. We're moving away from this exhausting trend of treating the body like a machine to be, hacked. And we're going to explore a framework where your body, mind, and spirit are actually a unified system participating in reality. We're grounding this in two interconnected texts by Jamie Thornberry. The first is The Physiology of Light Participation, and its companion piece, Restoration of Wholeness.
Which is just, it's a fundamental, urgent shift in perspective for anyone listening. If you look at modern reductionism, this overwhelming urge we have to break everything down into its smallest, most mechanical parts, it gives us endless data, right? But zero actual wisdom.
Oh, absolutely zero.
Right. We have more data on biomarkers, continuous glucose levels, genetic expression than at any point in human history. Yet as a population, we are more chronically ill, more anxious, and just more fragmented than ever.
Yeah.
We know everything about the parts and absolutely nothing about the whole. And what makes Thornberry's work so vital here is that it synthesizes biology, psychology, and ontology. It provides an actual blueprint for moving from that exhausting fragmentation into actual lived wholeness.
I can personally attest to that exhaustion, by the way. Last year, I got so obsessed with sleep tracking.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had a wearable ring, a mattress sensor, and I was taking, 14 different supplements before bed. Magnesium, L-theanine, abuginine, and you name it.
The full biohacker stack.
A full stack.
Wow.
I was trying to chemically hack my way into deep sleep, treating my brain like a defective motherboard, while completely ignoring the fact that I was staring at a blue light emitting screen, scrolling through doom news until 1 a.m.
Right.
I was acting like the programmer, and my body was just this dumb terminal waiting for an input. But according to Thornberry, that entire paradigm is the core problem. We measure the body, but we don't understand it.
Precisely. You were treating your mind like a data processor, your body as a mechanical object, and treating your subjective experience, your spirit, as completely irrelevant to your physical well-being. And that is the great misunderstanding of the modern age. We look at human beings as a collection of isolated systems, rather than a living coherence. So, to correct this, Thornberry introduces this foundational concept of light.
Okay.
But we need to be incredibly precise here, because if we misunderstand this, the whole framework just falls apart. In this context, light does not mean physical sunshine.
Oh, it doesn't?
No, it's not about UV rays or getting your vitamin D. In Thornberry's ontology, light is defined as biological disclosure. It is the ontological condition of intelligibility.
Okay, wait, stop right there. The ontological condition of intelligibility.
I know, it's a mouthful.
That is exactly the kind of dense academic phrasing that makes my eyes just completely glaze over. We need to translate that immediately. What does that actually look like in my body on a Tuesday morning?
Fair enough. Let's ground it in biology. Think about your circadian rhythm, which you just inadvertently brought up with your sleep tracking story.
Right.
So, deep in your brain, you have this tiny region called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It's the master clock of your body. When morning comes, that clock expects a specific signal to trigger a cascade of hormones. It wants to spike your cortisol to wake you up. It wants to raise your core body temperature. And when night falls, it expects darkness to signal the pineal gland to produce melatonin. That structure, that deeply ingrained biological expectation, is light. It is the disclosure of how reality actually functions.
Oh, and I see.
Reality isn't random. It operates on discoverable patterns. Your heart beats within a specific rhythm. Your cells undergo apoptosis, that's programmed cell death through defined processes. Light is the fundamental structure of reality that makes those processes knowable and coherent.
Wait, I'm tracking with the biology, but why use a philosophical word like light? Why doesn't Thornberry just say nature or biology?
Because words like nature or biology have been entirely corrupted by our mechanical worldview. Like, we view nature as a resource to be extracted, right?
True, yeah.
And biology is just a code to be rewritten. But the word light implies something entirely different. It implies an active revealing, a disclosure. It means the universe possesses an inherent order that is speaking to you, and your body is perfectly designed to listen.
Okay, wow.
So when the text says the body is an intelligible structure responding to signals, it is directly combating your smartphone analogy. Your body is not a passive object waiting to be manipulated by 14 supplements. It is an active participant in reality.
That reframes everything. Because the body responds to reality and not to what I want it to do well, that totally explains why my sleep hacks didn't work.
Exactly.
I was trying to force a biological outcome, sleep, while actively rebelling against the light or the reality of my environment by staring at a screen. I wanted the preference of staying up late mixed with the preference of waking up refreshed.
And biology does not care about your preferences. It just doesn't. It operates according to truths that exist independently of your desires. Health, in this framework, isn't merely the absence of disease.
All right, like we usually just define health as my blood work is normal and nothing currently hurts.
Exactly. But here, health is the expression of physiological alignment with this light. When you're aligned with the reality of how the human system is designed to function, energy flows efficiently, recovery happens naturally. When you misalign, when you try to cheat the system, you experience decay.
Man, if we take that seriously, it shines a rather harsh spotlight on the way we live right now. Because our modern world isn't just slightly misaligned, it is an entire architectural and cultural infrastructure built around avoiding reality.
Yes.
100%. We have climate-controlled cars that take us to climate-controlled offices where we sit in ergonomic chairs, have food delivered directly to our doors, and try to eliminate every possible friction point from our day. If our cells are physically degrading because we live in 72-degree bubbles, what's that actually doing to our biology?
I mean, it leads to a catastrophic downregulation of the human system. And this brings us to the physical manifestation of Thornberry's framework, the concept of life as adaptive participation. If light is the structure of reality being disclosed to us, life is our active participation in that structure. And the bold claim the texts make here is that life does not grow in comfort. It simply doesn't. It grows through ordered resistance.
We are talking about hormesis here, right?
Exactly.
The biological phenomenon where exposing an organism to a low dose of a stressor, something that would be toxic or lethal at a high dose, actually creates this wildly beneficial effect. The classic, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but happening at the mitochondrial level.
That's spot on. Let's look at the cellular mechanism of what happens when you introduce a stressor, like, say, intense exercise or cold exposure. When you stress the body, you create microdamage. You deplete ATP, your cellular energy currency.
Right.
You cause a spike in reactive oxygen species. Now, in a purely mechanical system, damage is just damage. If you scratch the screen of your phone, it doesn't miraculously grow a thicker, scratch-resistant screen tomorrow.
I wish it did.
Great, it's just permanently damaged. But the human body is dynamic. It reads that depletion, it reads that oxidative stress, and it initiates an incredible compensatory response. It activates pathways that synthesize new mitochondria. It produces heat shock proteins or cold shock proteins that literally repair misfolded proteins in your cells. It adapts upward.
But I have to push back on this a little bit, or at least play devil's advocate for the listener who's exhausted by the modern wellness industry.
Go for it.
Because right now, ordered resistance has been completely commodified. Like, every influencer on social media is taking a freezing cold plunge at 5 a.m., taping their mouths shut, doing extreme breath work, running ultra marathons. It often looks like a trendy form of masochism.
Yeah, the performative suffering.
Exactly. Are we just punishing ourselves because it's a popular biohack? Or is there a deeper necessity here?
That is a crucial distinction to make. Thornberry is explicitly critical of the biohacking mentality. Cold exposure, breath holds, lifting heavy weights. These are not biohacks.
They aren't.
No. A hack implies you're finding a backdoor to cheat the system. These disciplines are the exact opposite of cheating the system. They are tangible points of re-entering alignment with reality structure. You aren't hacking your biology. You're finally giving it the minimum effective dose of reality it requires to not atrophy.
So you're saying the body actually expects the cold. It expects the physical exertion. And by withholding it, we are depriving it of its basic operational requirements.
Think about what happens when you remove all challenge. When you live in that perpetually 72-degree room, when you never have to lift anything heavier than a laptop, when your heart rate never elevates beyond a brisk walk to the fridge.
Sounds like my average Tuesday.
Right, and the body doesn't just stay in a state of neutral, happy preservation when you do that. It adapts downward. The body is incredibly efficient. If you don't demand a high cardiac output, the heart muscle weakens. If you don't load the skeletal system with heavy resistance, osteoblasts slow down and you lose bone density. If you never expose yourself to cold, your vascular system loses its elasticity and its ability to efficiently constrict and dilate. Avoidance of challenge equals a privation of life.
Avoidance of challenge equals a privation of life. That's a haunting concept. It completely changes how I view comfort. Comfort isn't a reward. In excess, it's a signal to my body that it's time to quietly shut down.
It radically reframes our understanding of aging and physical decline. I mean, yes, time passes and telomeres shorten and bodies age. But Thornberry's text suggests that a massive portion of what modern humans experience as inevitable physical decline in their 40s, 50s, and 60s isn't just random cellular damage.
What is it then?
It is often the direct result of a lack of participation in the real conditions that sustain life. We call it aging, but a lot of it is just the manifestation of chronic disengagement. We are weakening because we've successfully engineered reality out of our daily lives.
Wow. So we are depriving ourselves of the very signals our bodies need to know they're still alive.
Exactly.
That makes perfect sense on a physiological level. But Thornberry doesn't stop at the muscles and the mitochondria. And this is where the text gets genuinely brilliant. The exact same structure of resistance and adaptation maps directly onto our psychology.
It does.
If physical comfort degrades the body, what does cognitive comfort do to the mind?
It degrades our grip on truth. Remember, the human person is not a collection of disconnected parts. The mind operates under the exact same participatory rules as the body.
Okay.
Just as the body is an intelligible structure designed to respond to physical signals, the mind exists to recognize cognitive structure, patterns, cause and effect, logic, meaning. It exists to participate in truth, not to manufacture its own isolated reality.
Let's draw a direct parallel here using one of the physical disciplines we just talked about, breath holds. The text argues that doing a breath hold isn't just about oxygenation or building carbon dioxide tolerance in the blood. It is literally a psychological training ground.
Let's look at the mechanism of a breath hold to understand why. When you hold your breath past the point of comfort, carbon dioxide begins to build up in your bloodstream. Your brain has chemoreceptors that detect this rising CO2.
Right.
And they send an immediate screaming alarm to your amygdala, the fear center of your brain. The signal is, we are suffocating, we are in mortal danger. Panic. Breathe now.
I've tried it, and the panic is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Your diaphragm physically spasms trying to force you to take a breath.
Exactly. But here's the psychological magic.
Okay.
If you are sitting safely on your living room floor doing this exercise, you are not actually dying. You have plenty of oxygen left in your blood. The panic is just an internal alarm.
Okay.
By choosing to sit with that spasm, by consciously using your prefrontal cortex to override the amygdala and remain perfectly calm while the alarm is blaring, you are training your mind. You're teaching your brain that you can experience intense internal distress without losing your cognitive coherence.
And the cold plunge functions the same way,
Right.
Like stepping into 38-degree water is a massive shock to the system. But the psychological training isn't just about surviving the cold.
No, not at all.
It's training the will to voluntarily step toward discomfort rather than shrinking away from it. You're conditioning the mind to confront reality, even when reality feels like a threat.
What is profound is how Thornberry defines the opposite of this. Like, what does cognitive privation look like?
Right.
In the physical realm, privation of challenge leads to bodily weakness and bone loss. In the cognitive realm, error, self-deception, willful ignorance, and psychological projection are not just quirky personality traits or alternative truths.
Oh, wow.
They are acts of active disconnection from reality. When the mind refuses to look at the truth because the truth is uncomfortable, confusion increases, internal contradictions multiply, and reality becomes violently distorted.
Let's talk about confronting reality, because I read an analogy about this once involving a pilot, and I think it perfectly captures what Thornberry's getting at.
A storm analogy, yes.
Yeah. Imagine a pilot flying a commercial jet through a massive, terrifying storm. Visibility is absolutely zero. The turbulence is violently shaking the cabin. The pilot looks down at the instrument panel, and it is lit up with flashing red lights, altitude warnings, blaring alarms. It's an incredibly stressful, high cognitive load environment.
Terrifying.
Right. Now, if that pilot decides, you know what, these flashing alarms are causing me way too much cortisol release. I'm practicing self-care today. I'm going to ignore the instrument panel and just fly the plane based on how I feel. What happens?
The plane goes down.
The plane crashes into a mountain because the instrument panel, no matter how stressful it is to look at, is the only thing disclosing reality.
That is a phenomenal representation of cognitive alignment. The mind must submit to cognitive truth, even when it causes immense distress.
Wait, let me challenge that pilot analogy, though. A modern biohacker, or even just a modern pharmaceutical approach, might look at that pilot and say, well, the problem isn't the storm. The problem is the pilot's stress response. Let's just give the pilot a sedative, or let's wire the instrument panel so the red lights turn a soothing shade of blue. Why do we have to fly into the storm at all? Can't we just fix the flashing lights?
Because changing the color of the light doesn't change the altitude of the plane.
Ooh, yeah.
You can numb the pilot's anxiety with a sedative, but if the plane is descending at 5,000 feet a minute, the mountain does not care how relaxed the pilot is upon impact. Reality remains reality.
Wow.
Mental clarity isn't about eliminating the stress of the storm. It's about having the trained capacity to look at the instrument panel, synthesize the information, and make a course correction. The immense danger modern people face is that we are being systematically trained by our culture to choose preference over truth. We are trained to turn off the flashing lights.
We see this everywhere. We curate our social media algorithms so we are never confronted with an opinion that makes us uncomfortable. We avoid difficult conversations with our spouses because the friction is unpleasant. We choose the stimulation of a TikTok feed over the discipline of sitting in silence with our own thoughts.
And how does Thornberry say we combat this? Through the repetition of voluntary discomfort. Just as lifting weights repeatedly builds a dense, stable muscle, the repetition of voluntarily facing small discomforts forms a stable psychological identity.
Give me a real-world example of this. Not a cold plunge, because obviously not everyone has an ice bath in their garage. What does this cognitive training look like on a random Wednesday?
It looks like standing in line at the grocery store for 5 minutes.
Really? Just standing there?
Just standing there. Your brain will register the lack of stimulation as a minor stressor. Boredom is an alarm. Your immediate conditioned response is to pull out your phone to numb that minor stress with a quick hit of dopamine.
Oh, guilty as charged.
Right. Cognitive training is recognizing the urge, feeling the mild discomfort of boredom, and choosing to just stand there and observe the room. It's choosing to have the difficult conversation with your boss instead of sending a passive-aggressive email. By continuously choosing to face reality in these micro moments, a person builds the capacity to endure reality without fragmenting.
Endure reality without fragmenting. If you spend your entire life curating your environment to avoid all discomfort, if you always check your phone in line, if you always avoid the hard conversation, if you never let yourself be physically cold, the very first time life forces you to face a real, unavoidable crisis, your identity shatters. You haven't trained the neurological pathways to remain coherent under pressure.
Precisely. Psychological instability is often not a chemical imbalance in a vacuum. It's the predictable result of this relentless modern training to avoid reality. You are quite literally out of practice with the real world.
All right, so we've explored the body, which asks, what is physical? We've explored the mind, which asks, what is logical? But Thornberry argues there is a deeper foundational layer to the human system.
Yes, the final layer.
If we stop at just a strong body and a sharp mind, we are still missing something critical. This brings us to the spirit and its orientation toward ultimate reality. The spirit asks, what is ultimate?
We're entering the realm of ontology again here. The spirit, in Thornberry's framework, is the dimension of the human person that relates to ultimate reality. It is the core orientation toward truth, goodness, meaning, and being itself.
Okay.
It's the part of you that doesn't just ask what is happening right now, but asks, what is this all for? And what is the ultimate good that I should align my life with?
Now, I have to pause here on behalf of the listener who might be purely secular or agnostic, someone who tuned into this deep dive looking for physiological mechanisms and behavioral psychology.
Sure.
When we start throwing around words like the spirit and ultimate reality, it can very quickly sound like we're transitioning into religious dogma or a sermon. I want to be clear that Thornberry isn't pushing a specific theological doctrine or taking a religious side here, right?
No, absolutely not. This is an ontological framework, not a dogmatic one. Every single human being, regardless of whether they are a devout religious practitioner or a staunch atheist, has a fundamental, undeniable need for ultimate purpose.
Right.
We are inextricably meaning-seeking creatures. You cannot escape the question of meaning. Even the nihilist who claims life has no meaning is organizing their life around that specific ultimate truth.
So if I have a strong body because I work out, and a sharp mind because I face reality, why do I need this spiritual layer? How does a lack of meaning practically destabilize the rest of the human system? Thornberry talks about spiritual privation. What does that actually look like in practice?
Let's define it first. Spiritual privation is the loss of participation in what is ultimately real. And the text notes something profound. Spiritual disorder isn't necessarily the presence of a competing dark reality. It's the loss of participation altogether.
Like a vacuum.
Exactly. It is a void. It is staring into an abyss of nothing matters. And what does that produce? It produces the defining plagues of our era: existential anxiety, a total loss of meaning, and moral confusion. If you don't have an orientation toward an ultimate good or an ultimate purpose, the answer to that, what is this for? Question: the rest of your system loses its anchor.
Because nothing in the human system operates independently.
Right. Let's look at the purely secular, highly optimized biohacker. They eat perfectly, they train perfectly, they have incredible mental resilience. But if they experience spiritual privation, if they have no overarching purpose for why they're optimizing their health, the entire pursuit becomes hollow. Without a sense of ultimate meaning, why endure the physical discipline of the cold plunge? Just to live 5 years longer in a universe you believe is meaningless? Why endure the psychological discomfort of facing a hard truth if truth itself has no ultimate value?
Wow.
The mind's clarity eventually fractures because it has no ultimate North Star to align with, and the body's discipline eventually feels like pointless, exhausting suffering. It is a terrifying freefall into non-participation.
Which perfectly transitions us into how these pieces actually interact. We have these three distinct aspects: body, mind, and spirit. But Thornberry is adamant that the human person is not a collection of disconnected parts that you can isolate. We have to understand the flow of participation between them.
This is where the framework becomes incredibly practical for everyday life. The text states a profound maxim: disorder is not complexity. Disorder is misalignment across layers.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
Disorder is not complexity. I feel like we constantly complain that our lives are just too complex. We have too many emails, too many commitments, too much information.
Oh, constantly.
But Thornberry is saying, no, the volume isn't the primary issue. The issue is that your physical actions, your mental state, and your spiritual purpose are out of alignment with each other. So how do these aspects communicate?
The flow of participation is continuous, and it moves in both directions. Let's look at the top-down flow first. It starts with your ultimate orientation, your spirit. Whatever you believe is the ultimate meaning of your life shapes your perception of reality, which is your mind.
Okay.
And your perception of reality directly dictates your behavior, which is your body.
So if my spiritual belief is that the universe is hyper-competitive and the only meaning is to accumulate wealth and status, that shapes my mind to view every other human being as a threat or a stepping stone.
Exactly.
And that mental perception shapes my body to exist in a chronic state of sympathetic nervous system arousal, fight or flight, dumping cortisol into my bloodstream 24/7 as I try to outwork everyone.
That is a flawless example of top-down flow. Your spirit dictated your mind, which degraded your body. Now, let's conceptualize how deeply intertwined this is.
I was originally thinking of the human being like a three-piece musical band.
Yeah.
But honestly, based on what we've discussed, a band is too mechanical. You can fire the drummer and still play an acoustic set.
Right.
It's more like a biological ecosystem. Think of a forest ecosystem. The spirit is the climate, and the weather patterns, the overarching ultimate reality. The mind is the soil network, the mycelium, the nutrient exchange, the structure that processes information. And the body is the physical trees and plants that grow out of that soil.
I like that analogy much better because it highlights total interdependence. If the climate, the spirit, experiences a massive drought, the soil, the mind, dries out and loses its ability to transfer nutrients. And the trees, the body, wither and die. It is a single, continuous system of life.
Right. But here is my question. Which direction of intervention is more powerful? If I am feeling completely disordered, do I need to fix my climate first? Is it the top-down approach, where we have to sit on a mountaintop, fix our spiritual meaning, and let it trickle down to our bodies? Or can we work from the roots up,
Both directions are essential, but this raises arguably the most important practical application in Thornberry's entire work. When we look at modern malaise, when someone is deep in existential dread, deeply depressed, or their mind is entirely fragmented by anxiety, the top-down approach is usually impossible. It is simply too overwhelming. You cannot just think your way into profound spiritual meaning when your cognitive soil is completely devoid of nutrients and your nervous system is in total chaos.
I have absolutely experienced this. When I'm having a spike of intense anxiety, telling myself to just remember my ultimate purpose is laughable. It does nothing. But going for a grueling 3-mile run somehow magically clears the existential dread.
And it isn't magic. It is the bottom-up flow of participation. When the mind and spirit are lost, the easiest, most effective way to begin realignment is through the physical body. Simple, brutal physical discipline. This is why things like controlled breathing, lifting heavy weights, or walking in the cold are so powerful. When you force your physical body to participate in structured reality, you dump the excess cortisol. You stabilize the nervous system. You lower the resting heart rate.
And that changes the mind.
Exactly. That physical stability creates a physiological environment where the mind can actually stop panicking. The soil receives water. Once the mind is calm and clear, it creates a foundation where the spirit can actually perceive ultimate meaning again.
That is so incredibly empowering. Because if you're feeling existentially lost, the advice you usually get from self-help books is go find your purpose, which is a terrifyingly huge abstract task.
It's paralyzing.
But Thornberry is essentially saying you can't find your purpose right now because your nervous system is a wreck. Start by taking a deep breath. Start by doing 10 push-ups. Start by taking a cold shower. Tell your biology that it is alive and participating in reality, and the roots will eventually heal the soil, which will allow you to engage with the climate.
Yes. Physical discipline stabilizes thought, which clarifies perception. It is a continuous loop. Alignment in one area strengthens the others. Disorder in one area destabilizes the others. You cannot optimize your physiology while neglecting your psychology, and you cannot find spiritual peace while treating your body like a dumpster.
So if misalignment is the disease of the modern age, if our roots, soil, and climate are totally out of sync, what is the cure? How do we actively integrate these 3 layers? Thornberry provides 3 ancient, incredibly rich concepts to guide this integration: love, Rapha, and Shalom.
These 3 concepts are the ultimate antidotes to our fragmentation. Let's start with love, because Thornberry redefines this word in a way that directly challenges our modern, highly emotional sensibilities.
How so?
The text corrects the idea that the body is a system to optimize or a machine to upgrade. In this ontology, love is the ordering principle. It is proper alignment with the good of the human system. It is stewardship.
Stewardship, not domination and not indulgence. I really want to linger on this because it cuts right through the 2 massive extremes of the modern wellness industry.
Oh, absolutely.
When we hear love your body, we usually fall into one of 2 camps. On one side, we have the treat yourself indulgence camp. Loving my body means taking a bubble bath, eating a whole tub of ice cream because I had a hard day, and avoiding all physical strain. It elevates comfort above all else under the guise of self-care.
Which, based on everything we discussed about hormesis and adaptation, actually leads to biological downregulation and a privation of life. It's not love, it's neglect disguised as affection. It is allowing the trees in your forest to rot because you refuse to let the wind blow through them.
Exactly. But then, on the absolute opposite side of the spectrum, you have the domination camp. The extreme biohacker, the alpha grind set mentality. Loving your body means punishing it, waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, tracking every macro to the gram, exercising through injuries to achieve a specific aesthetic or peak performance. It treats the body like a stubborn, uncooperative beast of burden that needs to be whipped into submission.
Which turns the body into a mere tool. The mind becomes an instrument of tyrannical control over the physical self. That is also a profound form of misalignment. Love, as Thornberry defines it as stewardship, is the middle path.
Right.
It recognizes the body's limits without idolizing those limits, and it embraces physical challenge without abusing the physical form. It is ensuring that your participation in reality isn't exploitative.
So how does viewing love as stewardship practically change how our listener might approach their day tomorrow?
It completely changes the why behind your actions. If you do a brutal workout out of domination, you are trying to hack your physiology and force a metric outcome. If you do it out of love and stewardship, you are doing it to restore the right relationship between yourself and physical reality. You are lovingly inviting your body to participate in life so that it remains strong enough to support your mind and spirit.
Inviting your body. That perfectly brings us to Rapha, the second concept. Rapha is a Hebrew word for healing. But Thornberry clarifies that this is not merely the Western medical concept of removing symptoms.
Right. Modern medicine is almost exclusively focused on symptom suppression. Going back to your earlier point about the pilot, if a check engine light flashes on your car's dashboard, putting a piece of black tape over the light technically removes the symptom, but it does absolutely nothing to fix the engine.
Right, the engine will still blow up.
Exactly. Rapha is the active, engaged process of correcting our disordered habits. It is the restoration of proper function. Healing occurs when the body, mind, and spirit are reintroduced to the conditions that allow them to function as designed. Movement restores circulation. Facing truth restores cognitive clarity. Pursuing ultimate meaning restores the spirit.
Rapha isn't a pill you take, it's an environment you cultivate. And the ultimate goal of this healing, the final destination of this entire framework, is Shalom.
Shalom is often translated in English simply as peace, but the text makes clear that peace is a drastically insufficient translation.
What does it really mean?
Shalom means wholeness. It is completeness and harmony across all dimensions. It is the state in which the body is capable, the mind is clear, and the spirit is anchored, all fully aligned with light, actively participating in life, and ordered by love.
It's the thriving forest ecosystem. And in this state of Shalom, Thornberry redefines one last major cultural concept for us. Freedom. We are taught from a very young age that freedom means absolute independence. Freedom means I get to do whatever I want, whenever I want, with no rules, no constraints, and no structure.
But the text argues the exact opposite. Freedom is not independence from structure, because independence from structure is just chaos.
Right.
Freedom is the ability to move within reality without fragmentation.
Because if you have no structure, if you reject all physical discipline, if you reject cognitive truth because it offends you, if you reject any ultimate meaning, you aren't actually free. You are just floating in a void, completely enslaved to your own passing whims, your dopamine hits, and your base biological impulses.
Exactly.
True freedom is recognizing the rules of reality, the light, and mastering your participation within those rules so completely that you experience Shalom.
If we synthesize this final thesis, it becomes an incredibly clear call to action. Human flourishing is never, ever achieved by trying to construct our own isolated, comfortable reality. It is never achieved by trying to hack our way out of our biology or by treating ourselves like smartphones waiting for a software update.
No.
Flourishing is achieved by submitting to and vigorously participating in the reality that already exists. Integration is not invention. It is restored participation.
What an incredible paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Let's bring this all together for the listener. We started by looking at how the modern world exhausts us by treating the human body as a sterile machine. But Thornberry's work has radically shifted that perspective. We've seen that biology itself is light, a disclosed order. Your body is an intelligible structure designed to respond to the reality of the world around it.
We explored how life is dynamic, it requires participation. We saw the biological mechanisms of how ordered resistance like cold exposure and physical discipline triggers cellular repair and upward adaptation. And we saw how the comfort-driven avoidance of challenge leads directly to cellular decay and a privation of life.
We traced how that physical discipline maps perfectly onto our psychology. Facing the internal resistance of a breath, hold trains the prefrontal cortex to override the panic of the amygdala, building a stable identity that refuses to fragment under the pressure of the real world. We saw that the spirit must be oriented toward ultimate meaning to anchor the entire ecosystem. And finally, we explored how love acts as the ultimate steward, guiding the process of Rapha, healing, to bring us into a state of Shalom, total integrated wholeness.
It is a profound reminder that we cannot isolate our parts. The physical, the mental, and the spiritual are continuously flowing into one another. We flourish only when all three are aligned with the reality they were designed to engage.
Which leaves us with a deeply important and somewhat unsettling question. We want to leave you with a final, lingering thought to mull over as you go about your day. It's a thought that builds on Thornberry's thesis, but looks toward the immediate future.
This is the big one.
If our physical, mental, and spiritual decay is directly tied to a lack of participation in structured reality, what happens to the human system as we move further into the age of virtual reality, artificial intelligence, and purely digital spaces?
Yeah.
What happens when we successfully create a metaverse where physical resistance, weather, gravity, and real-world consequences are entirely erased? If we use technology to program out the stress and friction of reality, are we essentially programming out our own life?
It raises an incredibly urgent question about the future of human flourishing. If participation in resistance is what physically and psychologically sustains us, a totally frictionless digital existence might not be a utopia. It might be the ultimate privation.
It makes you look at that smartphone in your hand a little bit differently. It isn't a model for how to treat your body. It might actually be the very mechanism tempting you to stop participating in the real world. So as we sign off today, we want to challenge you. Find just one small way to step into structured resistance today. Don't pull out your phone while you wait in line. Take a cold shower. Go for a walk in the weather without your headphones. Invite your body and your mind back into the reality they were built to inhabit. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.